Hi, I'm Dr. Deborah Palmer, the New Jersey SNAP-Ed Director, State FNP Coordinator, and PI on the USDA grant that funded the development of this DVD. The DVD includes 6 15-minute indoor walking briefs. The briefs were developed for both paraprofessional and professional use in SNAP-Ed, FNP, and other nutrition education programs that serve diverse audiences. The DVDs are designed to both address a variety of physical fitness needs as well as to work within the SNAP-Ed physical activity guidelines. So each brief is designed to meet a different fitness goal. Although most of the education we provide needs to remain focused on healthy eating, with the obesity epidemic at hand, we've also been challenged to help people increase their physical activity. But that's hard to do. After all, most of us really aren't qualified to lead physical activity demonstrations, and many activities are risky in terms of the injuries they might cause, especially since most of us have limited knowledge about providing safe instruction. Now, we could just stick to talking about physical activity, but we all know that doesn't work. If we want to get results, we've got to use interactive approaches to physical activity, just like we do when we're working with food. Of course, we also need to make sure that whatever suggestions we make are doable for our participants outside the classroom. So how do we do that? We know that some of our participants think that exercise is just too hard to do. But even those who do want to exercise avoid doing it outside because their neighborhoods are unsafe, they feel there's no good place to do it, they don't want people to look at them when they're exercising, and because of bad weather. Exercising indoors is probably a better idea, but childcare, the cost of equipment, and a lack of space often keeps them from doing that too. After a lot of brainstorming, my team at Rutgers started to think that it might make sense for us to try using exercise DVDs in our classes because it seemed like they might address most of our concerns. So 5 of my trained staff tested and evaluated over 100 exercise DVDs. Needless to say, we learned a lot. Probably the most important thing we learned was that the DVDs that seemed best suited for our classes were the indoor walking ones. And lucky for us, the nation's leading expert in indoor walking programs, a woman whose DVDs you've probably seen in many local fitness or discount department stores, agreed to help us out. That woman is Leslie Sansone. Hey, Leslie.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, how are you?
Take a minute for a hug. First let me thank you and your staff for giving me and my staff the privilege of bringing our walking programs to your participants.
Our pleasure.
We really thank you. Our walking workouts are a proven tool in motivating those that have not been on a regular exercise routine in a long time, or maybe have never had the opportunity or tools to be a regular exerciser. Never before have we needed physical activity as much as right now. It's not anyone's fault that our fast-moving technology actually slowed us all down. And now we need to plan our activity to get our healthy bodies back. We're so excited to show you our Walk Indoor program that for over 20 years has been putting activity back into people's lives through DVD. Now that's all the equipment you need to get miles of healthy fitness right indoors. The walks included on this DVD are designed with the important components of fitness all rolled into one muscle conditioning, calorie burning, health improving program. This is a walking workout that all ages can do and get these great benefits. A stronger heart and lungs. Now that means you have more energy all day long. Conditioned muscles give you a faster metabolism, and movement that offers full ranges of motion to keep you flexible and strong as you move through your day. And we've taken care of the obstacles that you heard about earlier. We want to keep people on a regular fitness routine, and here's how we do it. It's safe. You're indoors. You don't have to worry about unsafe places to walk. There are no fees or expensive childcare, and best of all, it's ready when you are. You can walk for fitness and healthy weight loss any time of the day or night that fits your schedule. Now, if you need a gentle walk to get started, it's here. Or are you looking for a power walk that challenges your entire body? We have it for you. You're never too old or too young to start walking our way. Hey, Deb, too much talk. We better start walking this walk. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Leslie. We are so grateful that you've decided to join us in our mission to help our program participants be more physically active.
We're thrilled. Thank you, Deb. Thank you.
Now, let's talk about how to use the DVDs in your classes. First and foremost, always make sure that you have a DVD player and a power source available. In terms of using the DVDs in class series, we recommend that you do the workouts in the order that they are included on the DVD. Then, during class, teach your nutrition lesson first, and 15 minutes before the end of class, invite your participants to stand up with you and move. Make sure that you tell them that if their doctors have told them not to exercise, not to. Also, while you should encourage the participants to do the walks with you, don't try to force them. Some people won't do it the first time, but after they've seen one, they'll join you the next time you come. Finally, remind people to be careful, to only do what they can comfortably do, and to slow down or quit if they feel like they need to. Then turn on the DVD player and have fun. Again, our thanks to Leslie, as well as to all of you for working so very hard to help your participants improve their health. Hi again. My name is Dr. Deborah Palmer from Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and the co-producer of this DVD with Leslie Sansone. The clip that you just saw was recorded on the day that we recorded the DVD in Pennsylvania. However, since that time, a lot has happened. First off, my research team and I have gone into FNEP and SNAP-Ed classes to see how this DVD practically works within the classroom setting. We've learned a lot. I've got some great tips for you on what to do, but I'll get to that in just a moment. The other thing that's happened since that time, and it's a much bigger thing that's happened since that time, is First Lady Michelle Obama began the Let's Move campaign, a campaign that's aimed at trying to end childhood obesity within one generation. In companionship with that initiative, she's also started the Partnership for a Healthy America to support it, and I am very happy to say that I have with me here today New Jersey's own Mayor of Newark, New Jersey, Cory Booker. Hi, Cory.
Oh, good to see you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
To see you.
Good to be here.
I'm glad you're able to address the educators who are going to be using this DVD in their classes.
Oh, I'm psyched that they are the catalytic agents in many ways for this movement.
Absolutely. So some of them might not be familiar with the Let's Move campaign or the partnership. So I was wondering if you could just tell them a little bit about what the campaign and the partnership are and how it's affected you personally.
Well, really, it's a heroic movement that started from the genesis, really was our First Lady, Michelle Obama, who understood that one of the most difficult challenges facing America is the epidemic rates of obesity and how they're costing our country billions and billions of dollars. But more important than that, and even more detrimental than that, is the fact that it's really undermining the potential of our people, of our children, of our families, of our communities. And if we are going to have a nation that has life and has it abundantly, we've got to address this issue or it will undermine our economic well-being, our health well-being, and the strength of our communities. So the partnership and Michelle Obama's efforts, along with many of us around the country, really are focusing on helping to end obesity within a generation, and doing that by focusing on food deserts and how so many of us have lack of access to healthy foods such as fruits and vegetables, even if we wanted to. It's to help with an educational movement, and that's really where you come in helping people to better understand health and nutrition. And then finally, it's about activity. It's about getting people moving. We're not going to have a sedentary nation anymore where we're sitting on the couch and becoming that favorite vegetable of many of ours, the couch potato. We're going to get out there and be more active as a nation, be more active as a people, to develop our hearts, our minds, our bodies, and really make sure that we become a model for our country. So I'm just encouraged to be here and have a few moments to speak to educators, because I am a big believer that before you even open your mouth as an educator, the most important thing is that you set an example. People will often listen more by what you do than what you say, and I'm hoping that each one of you focus on your habits and improving yourselves. And when you start to communicate that valuable information, that you really focus on some of these critical points that I know you're sharing.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of the educators who are watching the DVD work right in the communities where there's the greatest need. How can they actually get involved in the partnership?
Well, first of all, please go to letsmove.gov. It is a content-rich site on the web that talks about all of these issues in detail. I learned a lot just from going there and better understanding these issues. And that's one way that you could actually plug into the movement and even find out what's going on in and around your community. We have a Let's Move location here in Newark that people can go to, for example, and learn from. But in addition to that, more and more get involved with those groups that are readily around you. What is your religious institution doing, your church, your mosque, your synagogue? What is your schools doing in your area? Have you talked to principals and engaging them? What are families and businesses doing as well?
That's fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, Mayor Booker is a very busy, busy man. So right now we're going to get out of his hair, and I'll meet you back in my office momentarily to go over those tips we have for how you can best integrate this into your nutrition education program.
And she means hair figuratively, not literally. Thank you so much.
Hi, as promised, now I'm back in the office and I've got a few tips for you on how to use the DVD most effectively in your class. We have done focus groups with the DVD and heard what people thought about it, as well as gone into numerous classrooms with many different educators and seen what works and what doesn't. So now I can give you those tips and hopefully it'll always work really well for you. The first thing is you should make sure that you practice using the DVD. I'm sure that if your supervisor were to give you a copy of a new curriculum, you wouldn't just look at the outside of the box and try to teach it. You'd probably take it, read it very carefully, and probably practice a few of the things to make sure that they go smoothly. The same goes for the DVD. You want to actually take the DVD, walk with it, make sure you can do all the moves, have a good time with it, take it home. But that way you'll be more prepared when you get ready to do it with your class participants. Now, this is a tricky one. Make sure that you know how to use the equipment ahead of time if you can. I know that often you're running from one site to another and you get there and they've got the DVD player set up, hopefully no one has to go looking for it. But we've had a lot of situations, in fact, this is probably the biggest problem with using the DVD, is breakdowns of equipment. You want to make sure that you actually know how to operate it, that the person who's running the agency doesn't just tell you it works. You want to make sure that you're able to control the volume, that you're able to work with it. And the volume is very, very important. You want to make sure that you've turned it up louder maybe than you think you should. When you're in your own home using it, it's one thing, but when you get all the bodies in there with all the people who are taking the class, it's another, especially when they get up to start walking. When they get up and start walking, they have a good time with it usually, and they're talking back to the woman who's on the TV who's instructing them. They're talking to each other, they're laughing. So it gets a lot louder than when you're just testing it. So make sure you turn that volume up pretty high. You can always turn it down if you need to, but you want to make sure people can hear the instructor as well as the beat of the music, because that's what they're going to be walking to. Now, another one of the major problems that we found in classes where it didn't work so well was a lack of transition from the nutrition portion of the class to the physical activity portion of the class. A good way to overcome that problem is to make sure that when you do the first lesson the first week and you're kind of introducing everything, that you let people know that physical activity and nutrition go hand in hand, that they're both covered in the dietary guidelines. And if we're going to control obesity or avoid it with different people who maybe aren't overweight now but could be later, it's important to do both. So tell them that at the end of every nutrition lesson, you're going to be doing a 15-minute activity with them, and that it's something that they're going to be able to do at home, they're going to be able to do no matter what the weather is, and that it's a really, really good activity. That way they know what to expect. And then when you transition, wrap it up every time and say, okay, well, that was the nutrition portion, now we need to do activity. If we are still using My Pyramid, you can show the person that's running up the pyramid, taking that one step at a time, remind them that they can do that. But if not, I'm sure that whatever different visuals we have from USDA, they'll be appropriate in terms of showing people that physical activity is part of our guidance. Now, the first time that you go to do this with people, it really is going to get a mix of reactions. When we do it with focus groups and we're paying people to do the DVD, as you might imagine, everybody does it. And they really, really love it. If people have to do it, they absolutely love it. We go into some classes where the expectation is set by the agency that everyone will participate in everything. And when that happens, they really like it too. They're all up, they're all moving, and they find out really quickly that this can be a lot of fun. In classes where it's not required, though, we've been into different agencies where people are walking in and out of the classrooms, where people are texting. Sometimes they have their kids with them and they stop and feed the baby. I'm sure that you all have been in those situations too. That's a little trickier. Sometimes you'll only get one or two people up the first time, and there's a lot of peer pressure for them not to get up. There'll be people like laughing or saying, no, I'm not doing that, and they just kind of look at the others. When we've had those situations, don't get disheartened if you do, because a lot of times we find out that when we come back week 2, more people got up than they did week 1 after they've had a chance to watch it and to watch everybody doing it. The third week, there's more. The fourth week, there's more. And by the time we get around the fifth or sixth week, often that peer pressure is completely shifted to where people aren't giving each other a hard time for getting up. They're giving them a hard time if they don't. So you will probably see over time that people will get up, and once they get up, they're really going to enjoy it. Now, one thing you can do is to try to set the expectation yourself that this is going to be fun, that they should get up and do it, and make it so they really enjoy it, so they're planning on that. There will be barriers. No matter what, there will be barriers. There may be kids in the class. I would really recommend, we've seen good results with people getting their kids up with them, even when they're toddlers. They've put them in front of them, they hold their hands, and they just have the child walk along with them. Some of them carry the baby, and hey, that's more weight-bearing exercise if you do that. So encourage them not to pay too much attention to these barriers, to figure out ways to overcome them. They're going to have to deal with them at home too, if they're going to get active there. The other thing that can be a barrier is cell phones going off. So if you have the opportunity, please tell people to turn off their cell phones. And if there's a thermostat in the room and you notice that it's kind of warm when you come in to do the class, I'd really recommend that you turn the temperature down, because it can get pretty warm in the class after everybody gets moving. Now, we've all seen a situation where we walk into a classroom and the educator or the social worker, whoever's there, sits down and starts doing paperwork or walks out of the room. This is not the person you want to be when you start playing the DVD. Sure, Leslie's going to go ahead and give people instruction. They're going to be looking at the DVD, but they're going to be looking to you for leadership. If you sit down and start doing paperwork, we've even heard people say, well, what's she doing sitting down? You know, how come she's not up if it's supposed to be so important? Remember that if you do this 2 or 3 times a day, you're getting your physical activity in, so you're in good shape. But when you set that example, that makes it so people really want to get up with you and do this. The other thing that I wanted to mention with you is the stretching segment. All the other segments, people have gotten up, they're moving, and that's what they've come to expect, because the stretching segment is the 5th one. We put it there on purpose because we wanted people to get excited about the DVD, and we thought if we started with the stretching, it would do 2 things. First off, it would kind of send the message that you should stretch before you work out. And the second thing is that we thought, you know, we needed to get people moving and enjoying it. And that session is a lot more Leslie talking and people listening. It's more like a classroom setting. So they might not enjoy it the same way they do the other ones, but they do appreciate it. I mentioned that we didn't want to do it in the beginning because we didn't want people to think that they should stretch before they exercise. Some of you might think that that's what you should do, and that's what people used to think. But more recent research shows that it's a better idea for you to stretch at the end of your exercise. When you're at the beginning of an exercise, it's always good to do whatever you're going to do at a lower intensity. So that's why you see with the DVD, we always do a warm-up. But at the end, when your muscles are nice and warm and nothing will tear and you won't have any problems, that's the time to really stretch those muscles and make it so that you can be much more flexible, which will help you go about your day doing a lot of things much more easily, whether it's bending over to tie your shoes or making sure you're stable and balanced. The last thing I wanted to go over with you is the little blurbs we have at the beginning of every DVD segment that say things like, you know, go home and exercise with your kids, or you can do this even when there's bad weather outside. What I do when I'm doing the DVD with people is I ask someone to read the disclaimer, because I think it's a good idea that people hear that, as well as to read those messages. What happens is when you do that, the class tends to quiet down, it kind of makes things more focused, and it does give them some really good messages that they can use, and that hopefully you can use later on to reinforce the things that they've learned while they were doing the DVD. I also ask people at the end of every segment if there was anything that they learned about exercising. And a lot of times, again, that's a good way to reinforce what's just been learned, because they are the ones who's saying it and they listen to each other very well. So it's really, really a lot of fun to do this. I think you're going to enjoy it. I hope that you can take all these tips and use the DVD very successfully in your classes. And most of all, just have fun.